Hey Internet, and welcome back to No Meta, Just Vibes, the MMO show for the filthiest of filthy casuals. Today we are checking out New World. So this is the MMO made by Amazon. It was a hugely hyped thing, and then it came out, was really popular for a minute, and then like a lot of MMOs, experienced a ton of problems, hemorrhaged players, and kind of tanked its own reputation. But from what I see, the devs have been working really hard. They've been making lots and lots of changes, and there is a big content patch or expansion coming out soon that adds a new high-level area based on Egypt, and there's a new leveling experience from 1 to 25. It's not coming out yet, but they also have done a 1.5 experience booster for now until the new content comes out, and I figured why not check out the old starting area, see how that works, and then see, when the new one comes out, if what the differences are. So I've never played this before. It is my first time. I was always a little put off by the theming of this because it's kind of focusing on a fraught period in European history, and I always thought that we were going to North America in this game, but you're actually going to Magic Island, which alleviates a lot of my concerns. They do say in the beginning of the game that they've consulted with some cultural experts. I don't know to what extent that happened or what necessarily that means, but it's worth noting. So this is the first cutscene. We are basically trying to get to this Magic Island. It's a super rad place, I guess, that no one has been able to come back from, but this magic box is going to help us get there. So while we're on our way to the island, we get to create our character. The character creator in this game is kind of weird. On the one hand, some things like face and hair have a lot of options, as you'll see, and some things don't. The characters in this game don't look amazing. We have two body types, pretty standard. We have a lot of different face options. The face options are fairly diverse. They have a lot of very different looking faces. Some of them you might think look good, some you might think look bad. The thing that bothers me is that all of them have this kind of glassy, dead stare to them, and that a lot of the faces with different shapes don't necessarily match the body. And you can't. There's no sliders or anything to do anything with the body. It's just face, hair, skin tone, eye color. It's literally just whatever you see here, which is a little disappointing. It feels a little antiquated. But yeah, the faces in this game, and you're gonna see, like, even in the cutscenes, they just don't emote very well. There's a nice range of skin tones, that's always good to see. There's also a nice range of hair, kind of like we talked about in the Guild Wars 2 video. Having different ethnic hair really helps people, relate to their character. Love that. That I am definitely down with. Hair also does not appear to be gender locked, which is always a good thing. Here we're just gonna go through like all the styles. You can see we've got some kind of scuffed looking hairstyles. One thing I noticed a lot when I was going through them is that the layering on the hair tends to be a little weird. It like comes too far off the skull, like you can see. Like I said in the Guild Wars 2 video also, I tend not to love the hair in Western MMOs, at least compared to a lot of the Eastern counterparts. And this is kind of a mixed bag, if I'm being honest. Some of them are nice, some of them are a little weird, but we're just gonna go through them, and you'll see that I chose the one that had the nicest curls on them, so that's cool. and tattoos. I don't tend to do a ton of those, but I did find a tattoo on the face that I kind of liked. I went through a bunch of different eye looks. As you can see, I spent a long time in the character creator for, you know, not having a ton of options. It is just a little weird. It's a little out of step with, I think, the current standard. But one thing I do like, there's a lot of different skin options. You can have vitiligo, you can have wine stains. The scars have really nice textures on them. So there is a lot of good stuff here. There's just a little bit of a lack of variety. You know, like I've said before, I don't use face sliders really, but it's nice to have them. But in general, I think the characters look okay. Not amazing. This hairstyle in particular, I did really like. But a lot of them I found kind of strange. And again, the something about the face, just, you can see, I think I'm pointing out in the video, it's something about the face is just a little dead. But we make our character and we get them ready. If you maybe try to make a bunch of different names because you don't think of it beforehand, and I'm just gonna leave this in. I'm not deleting this. This is the struggle that I go through when I make a character. Anyway, so we run outside and our ship is going down. It's a storm, bad stuff's happening, and then we hit a black screen that for me lasted like a minute or two, so we're probably gonna do a little cut here. So eventually we wake up on the beach surrounded by some blue stuff, and first things first, game is very pretty. The environment design in this game is immaculate. It is so good. It kind of makes up for me, at least a little bit, for the stiff characters. We have our basic movement stuff. We see our captain there on the beach, but before we can save him, we have to fight a White Walker. So we're gonna do our weapon. We're gonna press a little X, and we have this cool little cutscene. This is just a nice way to introduce combat. It's very stylish, very visceral, and you know, I really like this. I was kind of impressed. The combat is it's an action combat system, no real tab targeting or anything. It's like a pure action combat, and it's pretty fun. So we're going to talk to our captain right here, and he's going to blame us for crashing because we want his dumb glowy box. He seems like a jerk, and it's probably the last time we're ever going to see him again, so I'm not super worried about what he has to say. So we run around the beach, we fight some more White Walkers, and as I was saying, the combat is fun. Depending on the weapon you use, because you can use any of the different types of weapons on the same character, it can feel really impactful, or it can feel a little kind of floaty and insubstantial. There's a skill I'm going to get later on that spins me around a lot, and that doesn't feel great, but the regular sword attacks feel pretty good. So we fight this dude who teaches us about blocking and block breaking, and then we level up our sword. So when you defeat enemies, you level up the individual weapon that you're using in addition to like your stats. And this is pretty cool. Every weapon has its own kind of upgrade tree. There aren't a ton of options, but each one kind of has two paths you can go down. So for the sword and shield, you know, there's one path for shield skills and one path for sword skills. You can mix and match them, but I believe there's a certain amount of points you can get overall. And that I really like. It makes the weapons feel very different, and it gives you something that you can kind of switch between at will and keep up with all the weapons if you want to. You can see I got that kind of Zelda-y spin attack, and I don't love it, but we're gonna run up and into this beautiful jungle. This is, again, this is very lush. The vegetation in this game looks incredible, where that is kind of lacking in a lot of games. This game really has environment design over the character design quality, which, you know, depending on the type of gamer you are, even how close you tend to have the camera, may or may not be kind of a big deal to you. But to say that this game is beautiful from a like environmental storytelling point is an understatement. It is simply gorgeous. We're gonna walk down the side of this cliff when I can figure out what direction I'm going, and we go through this weird ass mist into the upside down, basically. This is, you know, if you've watched Stranger Things season 4, you know that some gross stuff's about to go down when you see a bunch of red and vines on the floor. And oh my goodness, it's our guy from before. He's back, and he's mad at us for some reason, and he's also taken over by some red stuff. So this is, you know, our first little mini boss, little story boss, and, you know, our hint of things to come. Not super difficult, pretty fun fight. Just a, you know, kind of a summation of the combat mechanics you've learned so far. You can dodge him, you can block him, and it's just, you know, generally a fun little fight. So after we beat him, we pass out and wake up on this beach with very little fanfare. This was a little jarring. I wasn't sure if I like missed a cutscene or something since I just like appeared here, but I think this is just how it goes. So I walk around, take up a little flint, and you can see ahead of us we have a little beam of light from our first little camp location. I was trying to figure out if I needed the flint or not, or like what that was. It's just crafting material. You're gonna be able to craft all sorts of stuff in this game. I think the crafting economy is pretty big in this game from what I've seen. I don't actually know a ton about it, which is kind of nice, just going in kind of blind and just running around doing stuff. We see our first few other players. We all look pretty similar right now. And then we meet our first friend. So this is Charity. She is our first quest giver. The quests in this game are exactly what you're expecting. Nothing crazy, but you know, they're voiced, which is cool. It's, you know, it's MMO questing, it's fine. I did notice that Charity could not be bothered to turn around and look at me when she was talking to me, which I found a little bit rude since I'd just been shipwrecked. But apparently, all these White Walkers around the island are our former crewmates. This island does bad things to people. It corrupts them, and there's apparently two types of corruption. There's the, you know, the White Walker corruption, and then there's the red stuff, which is worse. So she has us go around, you know, kill our former crewmates, which I don't really feel bad about because I don't know any of them, and just explore a bunch of the shipwrecks and, you know, do our MMO stuff. So in addition to upgrading weapons, you can also assign stat points, and I hate assigning stat points in games. I absolutely despise it. It makes me so like stressed out and nervous. I hate doing it, especially in a game like this where I don't know like what path I want to go down yet, and I don't want to like have to look up builds and like do math, and I just hate it. I hate assigning points. I like choosing like talents on a talent tree. I like, you know, upgrade trees and things like that, but assigning points is the bane of my existence. A cool thing here is that it does tell you which weapons benefit from which stats, but so far I've only used the sword, so I don't know where I want to put all my stats. It's just stressing me out just looking at it. You know, I kind of had the idea that I wanted to do some of the magey stuff, but like, what if I tried it and didn't like it? I guess I have seen that the new starting experience will give you all the weapons right away, so you can kind of try them out and see what you want to use. I'm gonna find most of them while I'm doing this kind of opening experience. So the first weapon I found was the fire staff. I am not a huge fan of this. First of all, the fireballs are kind of dinky, and I found them really hard to aim. I don't know, I'm admittedly not good at using a mouse to aim at stuff. It's the reason I don't play a ton of FPS games, but it didn't feel great. The fire didn't have a lot of impact. I'm gonna get a little later on a choice between like a fire pillar move and a fire thrower move. I chose the fire thrower and I kind of regretted it. So next time I level this up, I might take the other option. It's fine, but fire is never my favorite element in games anyway, and so you know, you're seeing I'm gonna upgrade here, and I think this is where I choose the flamethrower. It's not my favorite weapon so far, but I do like playing magic in games, so I'm willing to give it another shot. This one feels pretty good though. This has a lot of weight to it. It's not as slow as I kind of expected it to be. It's never gonna be my aesthetic, but I was surprised at how much fun I had with it. The musket, however, I was not as much a fan of. It has like a really long reload and just didn't feel super powerful. I don't know if you have like headshot damage. I couldn't really tell because, again, aiming in this game I found it to be a little difficult for me. There might be some cool musket skills, but I did not like it enough to really check it out, and I was, you know, getting my butt whooped with it. So I just kind of went back to the hatchet, which is the other weapon I got around the same area that I had a lot of fun with. It's very fast. It has a lot of cool skills where you can either focus on being like a berserker, which again, not really my thing, or throwing the hatchet, which I find really fun. It has some cool kind of crowd control effects, and I really enjoyed using it in the little kind of mini dungeon it gives you later on. My next weapon was a bow, and at first I thought it looked kind of silly. Like the drawing animation didn't seem super great to me, but then I realized that you could hold right click to go into a zoom like you can in like every other game ever made, and get some more accurate shots. This I find a lot of fun. The bow is pretty good to use. There's not much to say about it. It's a video game bow. If you can't get this right, then you shouldn't have any ranged weapons in your game, but it felt really good. So the last thing that Charity wants us to do before we are done with her is to clear out this little dungeon, which is the source of the corruption in the area. And you're just gonna fight a bunch of White Walkers. You have a couple at the entrance, couple inside, and then you fight a little boss. Just a nice little mini dungeon, kind of little appetizer for the rest of the game, which is what a good starting area should be. It was maybe a little slow overall. The beginning, you spend a lot of time running around like identical shipwrecks, and the distances are a little long. Something about traveling is nice, like kind of running around and just seeing different stuff, but in the beginning of the game, you really do want to have kind of a quick pace, and this is coming from a Final Fantasy XIV player, so I know what having a slow starting experience is like. But this dungeon is pretty fun. I went with the fire staff and the hatchet. The hatchet I really love. I use these throwing attacks a lot. The fire thrower ability I use a little bit. It's like a nice source of damage, but I think it would be much better if you were in a group. If an enemy's just like walking at you and you're just kind of using this fire thrower on them and that they're not really reacting to, it just doesn't feel quite as good. But see, that throw just felt really good. Actually, I think I might have missed that one. But I can get a little pot shot on my fire stick, and then it's the combat's good. It's good. It's not amazing yet, but I'm curious to try some of the other weapons that I haven't gotten to yet and kind of see if something sticks the way that the hatchet did, because I really did have a lot of fun with that. So eventually we come to another Stranger Things area. We got Vechna over here punching us in the face, even though he's got a weapon. Pretty cool looking boss. I do like the difference between the blue like White Walker guys and then the red corruption, big bads. So yeah, just cool battle, cool stuff going on. I don't really have much to say about the fight, but it looks pretty good. So now that we're all done with Charity, we're heading up the road to find our first major settlement. I found this real weird guy who wanted me to get a bunch of truffles for him, and I'm not too important to get some truffles, so we're gonna do that. So if you don't know what truffles are, they are a rare and expensive mushroom that is very good, used a lot in fancy dishes, and it can be hard to find. So one of the methods that you use is to have pigs that are trained to smell truffles, and they kind of like dig them out of the ground, and it's a whole thing. It always seems like a big deal when they talk about it, but in terms of my truffle gathering experience, they shoot magic beams into the air and they're extremely large, so I don't know why people make such a big deal out of trying to find them. It seems pretty simple to me. So the last new weapon I got in this session was the Rapier. It's very quick, very stylish. I like the stance that you take. I like the little particle effects when you hit monsters. This is definitely a weapon I want to explore more of. It's definitely in a competition with the hatchet for my favorite melee weapon so far. I did not get to try any of the other magic weapons. There is I believe a void and ice gauntlet, which both have some cool abilities, and then there's a life staff, which lets you be like a support healer, which is usually kind of what I like to do, although I don't know how much group content I'm going to be doing in this game, but I definitely would like to check them out and just kind of decide where I'm going to go with the character. But I think either the Rapier or the hatchet are going to be mainstays for me. So we finally get to our first major town, and it's pretty nice. Being from New England, it feels very much like some of the old villages that I used to go to on field trips and stuff. So it is kind of nostalgic. I guess they're going to be updating this in the new player experience to kind of give it a more modern look comparatively, to the time period that this is taking place in. I don't really know that it needs it. This is a very nice looking town. Maybe it's just to fit kind of the other stuff in the game, the other towns. I'm not sure. But the town is pretty big. A lot of it is player housing or like guild housing, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting that, but that's super cool. I like that there's a lot of houses in different areas, kind of has a black desert vibe to it, but it does make the town feel kind of big and alive. It was a little weird to navigate and like find where everything is, but that might have just been me getting lost, because that is certainly a thing that happens in pretty much every location. But yeah, it had a nice little vibe to it. The town square area was really cool. It was very vibrant. There was a dude playing music. Every time I tried to actually like capture him playing a song, I like just missed it. But I guess you can play instruments in this game, and you can kind of give everybody buffs, which is, you can see this kind of white line around everything. And I guess the more people that join in, the more buffs everyone gets. So that's a very cool social aspect to the game. I couldn't figure out how to put away my weapon. I noticed that like I was just standing everywhere, just like ready to fight, and that felt a little extreme. So we talked to our next quest NPC. He says that it's an auspicious day to have arrived, even though, you know, shipwrecks are not uncommon here. I got a hat that not a huge fan of, not the best look I've had so far in the game, but this was where I kind of ended the night. I think I played for an hour and a half, maybe something like that, and I had fun with it. It's an interesting game. I am very curious to see how more of the content shakes out. But in general, I did have a good time. The environments, the landscapes are incredible. They are gorgeous. I can't wait to see some of the more varied locales that are in the game. The characters, I'm not crazy about. Their animations, their general looks, some of the clothing I've seen so far, not super what I'm into, but there is enough there in terms of, you know, the story and the combat that's fun, that I do want to kind of keep going and explore a little bit more. I'm not like thinking about the game all the time. It didn't immediately like pull me in like some other games have done, but there is a lot of potential there, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the game is like, and how the new leveling experience is when that comes out. But yeah, we'll definitely play a little more of this another time. But if you have enjoyed the video, you want to go ahead and, you know, throw a like or subscribe on there. I'm certainly not going to stop you. But yeah, that'd be really cool. And that's going to be all for me today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.